Good morning. Good morning, Lynn. Ugh. So it just said that I was unstable, so I think I might have froze. Sorry. When I see that it looks unstable, I just stop. Good morning, Tina. Glad to have you here. Michael, I was speaking about you this morning with my neighbors. I was out walking, and my neighbor is a major surfer. He's actually he was ranked pretty high when he was in high school. He swam and he surfed in college. I always brag about him. And I was talking to him today about surfing, and I was mentioning, he was telling me that his friends that he used to surf with, the people that surfed in college that were really big time surfers, that for those that don't have core strength, they actually can't surf anymore. Balance and core strength were really key. And what I was telling him, you came to mind, and I was talking to him about you and all your surfing. And what it made me realize is that the yoga that we practice, the yoga that I share with you all, the yoga that I'm sharing with you all is very much about joint alignment and posture. And sometimes it may seem like we're on the floor a lot or we're going slow. And I know for some of you, you love that. For some of you, that slow pace, you've embraced that slower pace in life. And actually going slower in yoga is more advanced and harder because we're so trying to move fast through our lives or strong through our lives. And then when we come to the place where we start to slow down, about these surfers, it looks like I may have froze again, so I stopped. The conversation this morning about the surfers who at one point were college level athletes surfing, if they've got the big bellies and they're not fit anymore, they cannot surf. To pull yourself up onto the board and then to be able to balance on the board. So today's practice is going to be very much about the little muscles on the joints. Quite often it is anyway, but it is at the level of the joints where the degeneration begins in the body. That is where we come to a place of pain and suffering, is when we have degeneration in our joints. We know that word as arthritis. And when the joints degenerate, there's so much, either you can't move as much anymore or you can't do the things you used to do in life. And movement and momentum is a way for many of us to balance our mental state. If we don't have a practice like yoga with meditation and all of that, it's the movement that helps to get our minds focused. And the asana aspect of yoga when you're younger is more of a faster paced, stronger practice because the mental energy typically takes a longer time or more effort to actually bring to this place of balance. So we are doing a very advanced form of yoga, which is slowed down and matching the breath with the movement. And today's focus will be on that foundational aspect, so that if we were a house of cards, our house of cards will be double lined and all together. So there's a lot of cards touching each other so that it's not so flimsy to be broken down or to be destroyed by the wind of life or whatever happens. Okay. Eleanor, so good to see you and Stan. Rosemary, hello. But yeah, so I was, I'm sure that the rest of you heard that. So for today's practice, I'm going to focus on whole body sheaths. I'm going to focus on our whole front chain, our whole back chain, and our side chain. So then you need to determine what's appropriate for you. How long do you want to hold a pose? How strongly do you want to stay in it? Do you want to use the modification I suggest, or do you want to try to do the full range of the pose? And it's all about whatever you have going on in your body. Okay, so let's begin coming to the floor. Good morning, Lynn. I see that you have arrived. So nice to have you all here. So let's begin. The first part of the practice is to gather our thoughts, to gather your mind and your emotions to this very place. So for the beginning of class, we're going to come down onto the floor. The beginning of the class is to get yourself here. So bring yourself to your mat, and I'd like your back to be on the floor so that you have a connection of the earth with your body. And so bringing either a chair or being against a wall or having something underneath your back, underneath your legs to support. Let your back be on the floor, because this is the floor, the ground, the earth, and we want to ground our mental energy. And this first part of class is about grounding the mental energy. Let's take the hands onto the belly so that we could begin to make that connection of mind and body, and begin to notice and feel and be aware of our body moving, and especially our body moving with breath. So find comfort in your body and close your eyes so that you could go to the place of feeling, so you can minimize the distractions of other senses, the sight, the sound, whatever else. This is the time to work on balancing the energy of the mind and the energy of this is the time for self-care, to be completely integrated here, your mind, your body, and the breath is the link between the two. The breath is what brings us from the subconscious realm to the conscious, to what we actually have control over. And then for those of you that deal with anxiety or panic, or even if it's not labeled that, but any times where your mind gets the better of you and you're either going to the past or going to the future, and you can't quite stop that snowball effect of thoughts that end up leading to the way you feel. So they affect your emotional. And to practice noticing our breath and being very harmonized in this moment with the mind and with. Let the legs be heavy wherever they are. Let the muscles that hold them up in today, standing, seated, let the muscles relax. Let them release their hold, their gripping, and even those little ones that are in the joints, the stabilizing muscles. And then all the soft tissue and connective tissue of the joints, the fascia that wraps everything, like saran wrap all over to keep you in this tight physical package that you show up in. Feel the back, shoulder blades closer towards each other. So you may be able to push your head into the floor, lift your back off the floor, and then slide the shoulder blades towards the center, towards the spine. Your hands are on your belly and your arms are alongside your body. And be very curious and aware of your body when you breathe. Notice what you notice. So see if you, so that you try to let it just happen in its natural pace. Where is the breath? Inside yourself. Notice where the breath goes when it comes in. Is it middle torso? Do you notice it? And if you imagine that you're sitting beside yourself watching some of the effect you have on the breath, it into our field of awareness. You can notice breath coming side of the body and the left side of the body evenly, or more than the other. If there are any in your spine, in your legs, in your shoulders, irregularities in your breathing pattern. So be and see if you can notice. Don't let yourself. It'll help to let whatever's happening happen. And then notice the pace of the inhale, exhale. So whether or not you noticed any discrepancies, there's two lobes or two sections of the lungs. Visualize that the next time you breathe in through both nostrils, the breath goes in the body, down the back of the throat, and goes to the left side. And then only and from front to back. And you could visualize the physical space that your lungs take up in your body. And visualize the lungs expanding top to bottom, side to side, and front to back. The left lung. And try not to pay attention to the right. Let what's happening happen. Your visualization and your gaze with the eyes closed moves towards the left side of your body. Inhale, expanding the left lung. And if at any point you start to notice digestive sounds, know that that's a good thing, that your body actually feels safe enough to go and assimilating whatever nutrients you fed yourself today. And as you breathe into the top of the lung, the bottom of the lung, the inner side of the lung, the outside of the lung, the back of the lung towards the floor, and the front of the lung towards the chest, top part of the chest. And let your gaze and let your awareness go there as well. A challenge for you. Sometimes or a color that comes in with the breath and goes to the lungs. And then bring your awareness to both lungs. Breathing in. Feel the two. The left lung as you breathe in, moving in the very center of your body, below your sternum. Feel the backward movement towards the floor. The upward movement of the breath as it comes into the top lungs, moving up towards your feel the sides of your lungs. Guidance when you bring in your next breath. Feel the upward movement of the front of your chest moving up towards the sky. And then bring the lobes of the lungs near the lower ribs. The breath deep into the lungs. Beginning to feeling the hands move that are on your and then begin. When you inhale, at the end of the inhale, add a pause. And like the exhale, make that. And then add a pause to the end of the exhale. Try to match out the pace of your inhale. So pay attention to how long, and is the exhale the same amount of time? If you'd like to count, you could count equal. Maybe the number 4, maybe the number 5. Feel the hand rise and fall. Count if you're counting. Noticing. One more breath. Fully feeling, sensing, and a noticing with the pace of your breath. Back to your body so that the nervous system that's responsible, notice, how are you feeling right now? What is the level of the relaxation element? And then up and down your body with awareness. And then if there's particular areas, go to the place where you have the issues. Notice if there's a softening around that constant signal that some send to us all day long. And then I'd like you to notice the heaviness of your body. Does your body feel particularly like the floor or whatever surface you're touching? Weight of your body. As the muscles have let go even more, the hold they have on holding you upright. And all the tissue that wraps you, that holds you, that supports you, and let go and soften. Experience the heaviness of your body with gravity being pressed or whatever props are supporting. Then bring your awareness to your fingers and your toes. Start to wiggle them. And then notice or realize that what you just did was such an act of self-care and self-love to your internal environment. to your biochemistry, to your physiology, and to your cells, to allow them to not be distracted, trying to heal you, repair you, and do all of these things, and to go to the place where it can do its function, whatever its function is, to make a new cell, to make more energy, to repair, actually, to restore. So it actually can take the time to do all of those things it needed to do and not be on the alert to run and get away from whatever it is, from whatever happened to you yesterday, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, lifetimes past, yesterday, or what you think is going to happen to you tomorrow, 10 days from now, a year from now. Let's bring the movement into your body in a bigger way. It's our job to take care of ourselves. It's our job to find wellness in our body and in our mind. Bring your knees into your chest. Feel the low back go into a different shape called flexion, opening up the back of the lower lumbar vertebra, stretching the muscles of those bones in the low back, and then rocking along the top edge of your pelvis where those muscles attach. So a little massage here. And then roll onto your side, noticing how you feel. And that yoga, the practice of yoga, even the physical practice of yoga, can be about finding relaxation in the body and in the mind. Let's take the hand on the floor, open up the hand. We're going to bring ourselves up to prepare our space for whatever movements we're going to bring into the practice. I'd like you to have a wrap and a block for what we're about to do. Let's bring yourself onto your tushy and let's take our feet wide off the mat. Do a little side to side. Open up the hip joint after being in that supine position. Feel yourself giving your little tushy a massage now as well. Now you're on the back of your hip joint, that upper leg bone. And with the weight of your body pressing down, the tendons that attach to the bone, we're doing a little release, a little stretch there in those areas of our body, something that maybe we don't focus on or pay very much attention to. And then let's bring ourselves onto our back. So if you have osteoporosis, moving to the side, reaching your hand away to come down and keep yourself safe. And then if you do not have osteoporosis and you want to use your core to lower down, you can use your core, press the low back towards the floor, coming down through a flexion position, which is why with osteoporosis, we want to avoid that, minimizing the flexion in the spine. And then stretch your body glove, especially if you were really noticing a nice release of the tissue that wraps everything. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Now that it's softened up, you can get a little deeper, maybe creating more space in your joints. And then let's go ahead and bring the knees to a bent position. Push your feet into the floor, lift up the pelvis. Let's draw the left knee in and straighten the right leg. This is Apanasana, knees to chest, also known as wind releasing pose, has a digestive quality to it, especially if you press that top thigh up. So if there's a time that you're having digestive discomfort in your mind and you're having a lot of mental thoughts you need to digest, this can also be used for that as well. It helps to compress the lymph nodes in the stomach and move the lymph through the system, which is part of cleansing our body and also part of helping the immune aspect of our body. Let's take an inhale here. And then we're going to switch and bring the other leg in. So something so simple as bringing your knee into your chest has the ability to help with digestion, whether that's physically in your body or mentally, emotionally in your mind. It also has the ability to help with the detoxification channels of the body as it helps to compress and squish and move the lymph through the system. So it's pretty amazing that that can happen by compressing joints and compressing our bodies.
Let's bring the other leg in. You're going to come into a happy baby pose. So take the feet wide here. The soles of the feet are up towards the sky. And then at first, let's hold on behind our thighs because we haven't done a lot yet to move our body. So there may still be tightness in the body. As you move side to side, feel that massage on the low back, especially for those of you that have issues in this area. This I find to be a very relieving low back movement practice. And then you're going to reach up and if you can, grab onto your toes. You could put your two fingers between your big toe and your second toe, and then put the thumb on the toenail. So you could do this. Well, this is an option, but some of you may not actually be able to do this. Or you could grab onto your foot so that your fingers are on the outside and your thumbs are on the inside. Or maybe for you, so this will give you a little deeper, starting getting to the inner thigh area. And then for some of you, staying here may be the best option. So choose whatever feels appropriate for your body, getting your body nice and warm here. And then let's go ahead and bring the soles of the feet together. Hold onto your ankles, and you could use your elbows here to push away the upper leg bone. And this is going to stretch the inner thigh muscles. And using the hands or the arms to push away the legs is safe here because position it needs to allow what we're doing with the inner thigh muscles. And then go ahead and bring your feet down. We're going to move into some of the rotational aspects. So the spine is going to get involved here, and this is going to start to warm up the spine and warm up the hip joint and warm up the muscles of rotation. Let's take the arms out to the side and bend the elbows. I'd like your hands to be in the side, your arms to be on the floor. And you've got to pay attention here to notice if the hands are off. So you may need to go a little farther away from your mat or come close to your body, whatever your body will let you do. And then bring your feet to the edge of your mat. Let's start to slowly inhale to let your knees go to one side. When you go slow. So that leg bone that's moving towards the middle of the mat, it can lengthen in the hip joint, stretching the rotational muscles, the low back muscles, the quadricep muscles, and the hip muscles. And then when you exhale, you're going to firm up your core, press your belly button to your spine to come back up to center, and then inhale slowly. Now it's the other leg that gets the opportunity to stretch the low back, stretch the rotational muscles, bring traction or space into the spine, into the hip joint, quadricep muscles, which are part of the hip flexor muscle group. And then you exhale, belly button back towards the spine. So when you inhale in the practice of yoga, usually the inhale is when the limbs are moving away from the body or there's a stretch happening in the body. And then the exhale is the protection, the core contraction to bring yourself back to center. You inhale to move away from the body or to lengthen something. And then you exhale to contract, to be safe, and to bring yourself back to center. So find that in your body now when you move. Try to close your eyes here and notice that your pelvis is actually tilting off the floor onto one edge, which is how that brings in the rotational aspect of the spine. Exhale, belly button to spine, and go back to side to side. So this is so therapeutic. And if you are so in your body with your interoception when you do this, it becomes so much of a deeper practice than just throwing your legs around and thinking you're just going to stretch your this or stretch your that. Be inside your body, know all the stuff that's happening. Then let's move our feet off of the mat because we need to take care of ourselves and preserve our body and maintain the integrity of the joints and the safety of the joints. And what we do here will help to facilitate that, which will allow us to move or glide or dance through our lives. Let's take the feet wider. Now, the weight of the leg when it comes into the center will create a deeper stretch in the hip and the ligaments and the tendons and the fascia and all the soft tissue and connective tissue that's being stretched. Press the belly button to the spine and slowly inhale towards the other side. Feel the stretch, feel how it gets deeper. You exhale back to center. You inhale towards the other side. And then try to keep the back of the rib cage on the floor. So with the eyes closed, Notice where the lower ribs are. Try not to let the lower ribs move. Let this only be the pelvis that moves, and you'll help to deepen the stretch in the hip joint, the hip flexor muscles, the rotational muscles, a little bit more isolating and getting some certain specific areas of the body. Let's do one more to each side. And the next time you come to the right, stay there. When you get there, let everything soften. And then if you want to make the left side active, you push the left foot into the floor, you point the left kneecap away from you. And when you do that, you'll feel a deepening of the stretch in the rotational muscles, in the hip flexor muscles. And then you can reach the left hand off the floor, flex the wrist. Keep the left arm about 1.5 feet away from your ear and reach that hand away from you as you lengthen that left leg in the hips joint. Stretching the hip here, stretching the spine, the shoulder joint. So stretching the ligaments that hold these bones in the socket and all the muscles that move these bones. These are 2 balls in sockets, the hip and the shoulder. Lots of range of motion here. So really stretch, and create that space in your body. You could push your heart up towards the sky, adding a little bit of spinal extension in the thoracic spine, and that may deepen the stretch somewhere for you. Take one more breath. And then exhale, push your belly button to your spine to come up to center. Let's do the same thing slowly. Find this as your legs move over to the left. If you want to deepen the stretch in the hip joint, push the right inner edge of the foot into the floor. Push that right hip up towards the sky and move that right kneecap away from you. And then flex that right hand, flex the wrist, reach that hand away from you, lengthen that entire side. And then add that thoracic extension if you'd like, pushing the chest, pushing the heart up towards the sky. Flex the wrist, the heel. Deep breath in. And then take one more breath. Exhale to bring yourself all the way out. To strengthening the joints. Let's take the block between the knees. If you don't have a block, use something rolled up, towel or something to give you that ability to stretch there. Let's take the hands behind the head. And we're going to do a little spinal undulation. Squeeze the block. Let the low back press towards the floor and the tailbone points up towards the wall away from you. So you come into this position and then bring the chin to the chest, bring the elbows towards each other. So this is spinal undulation. And then you're going to inhale to lower. Now, if you have osteoporosis, I want you to minimize the range of motion of the upper part of this. So as you exhale, press the low back into the floor, point the tailbone up. For those of you without osteo, chin to chest, elbows towards each other. For those of you with osteoporosis, keep your elbows out to the side, point your nose up towards the sky. So just minimize rounding the upper spine. Find the spinal undulation. Close your eyes if you can. Notice the right side and the left side of the spine. Press into the floor. When you rock through your pelvis and you feel your tailbone and your sacrum press into the floor, do you feel even weight on both sides? So many have pelvic malalignment or issues with leg discrepancy or issues with the hips or the knees. So just notice what you notice here, any asymmetry as you undulate through your spine. Let's do one more. And then bring yourself to a neutral position. Let's take the block in the hands. Let's do the upper part of the spine. Take your legs wide. The block is in your hands. And if you don't have a block, just have your hands about this distance. Inhale. As you exhale, contract your core, lift your upper body off the floor. With osteo, keep your throat open without, or actually even without osteoporosis. Try to keep your throat open. Let your body move now out to the right side when you come up. So notice what's happening in the upper spine, keeping the upper spine. Think about the lower ribs moving towards the spine when you come up. You exhale, contract your core, push your belly button to your spine, or zipper up your midsection. When you rise, go slow here. Slower is harder. Slower takes a lot more muscular strength to maintain that stability in the joints against gravity, lifting your torso up away from the floor. So it's more advanced. If you want to be even more advanced, you allow your upper arms and your ears to move in unison and then move the hands away. And that'll make it a little more challenging for those of you that want a little bit more. So your arms and ears come up, your hands move away, the upper arm bones come back to where the ears are, and then you lower down. You exhale to rise, or you can let your arms go forward if it's too challenging to do that. The next time you come to the left, let it be the last. And then bring yourself all the way down. Let's take the block, put the block in your legs or a rolled up towel or something, flex the feet. So the block is in this way. You want it to be this distance between your legs. That's in alignment with hips. Take your feet into this parallel position. So it's called tabletop, and flex your feet. Knees over pelvis if you have a pretty strong core. So let's go with the different abilities here. The knees closer to chest, the low back is on the floor. And then if you move side to side like this, that's a little bit easier. For those of you who want a little bit more challenge, if you take your knees directly above your pelvis, you'll notice that your low back comes away from the floor. The low back goes into its neutral curve. Contract the core, zipper up the midsection to keep stabilize that low back and the pelvis. Let's add a little rotation here. You're going to inhale over to one side, squeeze the block, flex the feet, bring yourself back to center. Go slow. Slow is hard. Slow is more advanced. So if you need to move quickly, if it's too challenging to go slow and you need to move a little quicker, go ahead. If you slow this down, you're going into a little bit more of an advanced place. And then close your eyes. Feel yourself rocking through one buttock to the center where your sacrum, the base of the spine, and then to the other side. Exhale back to center. Let's do one more all the way through. Hopefully you remember which direction you went in first, and you can end with the opposite direction. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's bring the block off to the center of your blanket, bring yourself back up, and then bring your knees into your chest. Let the low back flatten into the floor. So that's a nice strong core series supporting back health, supporting joint health. All right, so that was definitely front body. We're going to go to the back of the body and do the bridge pose. Let's take the blanket away from the back of the head, block or something between your knees to help turn on the stabilizing muscles of the pelvis. Bring the feet a little bit closer to the body. Let's take the arms overhead. We'll do a little dynamic bridge first and then hold. We'll do 5 with movement, and on the 5th one, we'll hold. So with the spine, think about your spine going through this full range of motion through flexion and extension. Try to find that in your own spine. So beginning by squeezing the block, arms are overhead, palms face each other, and thumbs are touching the floor. Squeeze the block, let the spine be pressed towards the floor. Inhale here. As you exhale, you're going to push your feet into the floor, squeeze the tushy, squeeze the block, start to peel the spine off the floor, one vertebra at a time. Lengthen the back of the neck. Let your arms come down alongside your body on your entire exhale. Slower you go, the more challenging it is. And then you inhale, start to put the spine one vertebra at a time down onto the floor. And when you go slow, you may even notice shaking because you're loading up your joints with balance, with coordination, with alignment. So slower is actually more challenging. Inhale to rise, exhale to lower. That's 3. There's also stuff that happens here with the shoulders when the shoulder blades are on the floor and you're moving the arm bones by themselves. Certain muscles have to do a job that maybe they normally don't do because maybe the other parts of the shoulder are helping them. So this is good for isolating shoulder. On this next one, you're going to come up and you're going to stay up. You're going to squeeze your block, squeeze your tushy, lift your pelvis up higher if you can, move your knees away from you if you can. If you are able to clasp by moving the shoulder blades closer to the spine, you can try that. Don't look side to side. Lengthen the back of the neck. Push the heart up towards the nose. Push the feet into the floor. Squeeze the block. Strength in the back of the body. Now this is post the back of the legs, the glutes, the low back, the middle back, spinal muscles. So there's many more muscles involved in movement. Down at any point, come down. If you're able to take 3 more long, slow, deep breaths, do that. Slowly, you're going to let go of the tension. So you could start to add flexion, pushing one spine bone down at a time. So you're trying to open up back of the vertebra. When you get towards the lower ribs, if you come onto your heels, see if you could place the low back. Feels really nice as you lengthen, 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 and stretch that part of the body. And then bring yourself all the way down. Block underneath the pelvis. Let the top edge of the pelvis, rest on the block. You can take your hands on the hips here as you then let the sacrum find its place. So there's a little rocking action. You come through a posterior tilt, placing the top edge of the pelvis on the block. Hands are on the hip bones. This is actually really nice to help stretch the pelvis, and especially if you have any kind of asymmetry or malalignment in your pelvis, which a lot of people do when they have issues in their hips or their knees or their ankles or their feet. And so there's a lot of ligaments holding the pelvis in its structure, and you can feel maybe a little here, like one side may feel like it's a little tighter than the other. If you'd like, you could take one leg and straighten one leg and take that same arm and stretch that arm overhead. Feel what you feel. Taking the psoas, which is that deep hip flexor muscle in the body, lengthening its 2 attachment points, the lumbar spine and the inner thigh. And then let's switch sides, go to the other side. So first, lengthening that right leg. See how that feels at your hip flexor. And then if you'd like, you could take that arm overhead, stretch, stretch, stretch. Notice what you notice in the front of the hip. Notice if this feels appropriate for you. And then if you'd like, you could take both legs straight. So this is not for everyone. And then you could take both arms straight or let it just be the legs. So see what feels okay for you. And then you could actually take your hands on your bones, help to align here. Contract the core, push the belly button towards the spine. And then let's go ahead and bend the knees. Take the feet into the floor, lift up tushy, take the block to the side, and then rest. Let's roll onto the right side. And then pushing ourselves up to a seated position. So a lot of great stabilizing work so far. Let's come up and do a little bit to work on that anterior chain and that lateral chain. All right, so we are going to go to the side body first. Let's come on to a side. It doesn't matter which side you come on to. Come on to a side. And the important thing here is that your elbow
your shoulder are in alignment. And then bending the knees makes this a little more easy. We're just gonna lift up off the floor, making it be more about this part of the body. So I want you to think about the leg pushing into the floor. So we're strengthening the lateral side of the body here for hip protection and for low back. So I want you to think about this part here that you're pushing here. So try not it to be that you're pushing into your arm to lift your body up here. Really think about this being what you're lifting away from the floor. You're lifting the pelvis. More you bend the knees, the more challenging it is. Straighter the legs are, the harder it is. Choose what's appropriate for you. Take your other hand on the floor in front of you. Let's just do 3 lifts here. Open your chest, try to stack your upper torso here. Chest is open. You're gonna take an inhale, push the feet into the floor and lift the pelvis up off the floor, and then exhale to lower. Go slow so you feel all the muscles that need to work there. Push the feet, either the knees or the feet into the floor to lift up. So a lot of pressure here. And then last one, come up, stay up for a whole breath. If you want to bring your arm up off the floor, a little more challenging. And then go ahead and bring yourself down. We're going to go to the other side. You could just roll up and face the other direction. Make sure you're aligned. So this could put a lot of pressure in the upper back area. I want to try to isolate this in the lower back and make sure you don't do anything too crazy with the shoulder area, which is why I'm trying to emphasize that you either keep your knees bent, or if they're straight, it's the inner foot or the knee or whatever part of your lower body that helps to lift the pelvis off the floor. Take the hand on the floor in front of you. We're going to do 3 and then hold for a breath. You're going to inhale to lift, exhale to lower. Inhale, lift, exhale, lower. And then one more inhale to lift. Stay here. If you want to bring your arm up, try to get your chest to be in alignment. The shoulder blades are on the back of the body, and then you're going to come down. Okay. Let's take our self onto all fours. We're going to do a plank pose, and we're going to do a little bit to play with this whole front of our body here with our plank. Actually, let's do the side plank first. So take your block. We're going to do the left side of your body first. So this one we need to explain. Here's the variations of this. You're either going to come here in a side plank, which is a modification. You see the leg is on the floor. This is a modification here. For those of you that want to do the full plank, you're going to come on, you could come onto side plank here, which is crazy. And it's pretty challenging. So choose what's appropriate for you. If you come into this and it's too intense, you could bring a foot forward, and this actually helps to minimize the pressure here. This is a really strong pose. So you're going to choose whichever one you'd like. I will direct through the modification of the first one. Hands are on the floor. Bring your block along the side so you have something to help get you up. So you're going to take your left hand, move your left hand away from your body, and then you're going to slide your left foot off to the side. And then you're going to bring yourself onto your side. So you're on your left foot. You're on your left knee, and your left foot is pointing behind you. The block is just to help you here. And then you're going to bring your right hand on top of your waist, stack your shoulders, bring your right foot up, and then you could bring your right hand up. For those of you that are in the full range, you would let your legs go straight. You could bring that right leg up and over if you'd like. Keep lifting this leg. Don't let the leg hang out. Lift that leg, make it active. Flex the foot. Be very active. If you want to reach your arm up and over, lengthening out that right side, you can do that. Push your heart forward. Push your hand back. Leg is moving back as well, and up. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself out of that. So wherever you are in that, that was the opportunity to strengthen that entire right side. Now we're going to strengthen the left side of your body. You're on all fours. Or for those of you that are coming up, you're coming up into the side plank. Okay, so for those of you that are going into that, go ahead. Hands are underneath your shoulders. Make sure your right hand is underneath your shoulders. And then take your right foot off to the side. And then you're going to bring yourself onto your right knee. Right hand is underneath the shoulder. The block is here just to help you. That left foot stays on the floor.
Bring your hand onto your waist, bring your arm up and lift your leg up. Keep it pretty high here. So really keep lifting up here, strengthening that glute mid, important muscle. Let your shoulders be in alignment here. Lift that leg. If you want to reach up and over and lengthen out that left side, fingertips are reaching away from you. Leg is reaching up towards the sky. Leg is very active. For those of you that are doing the full version, you'll come out when you need to because it's a pretty strong pose. Lift that leg, take one more breath, and then let's go ahead and bring yourselves out. Bring yourself all the way up. Let's take the wrists. Shake, shake, shake the wrists. Strengthening the wrist is important because it is one of the areas that is the most precarious and the most prone to fracture, is this part of our body. So when we are loading up our body weight, even if it's just one breath at a time, you're actually strengthening this part of the body. Let's take the wrists, move the wrists around. And then if you have issues in your wrist, just bring your awareness to that. Bring your awareness to the emotional aspect of whatever issues you have anywhere in your body, so that whenever you're moving into the physical practice, the asana of the practice, that you're aware of the emotional component, especially if you have an injury and fear and trapped emotional aspects of that. See where you can soften, where you can send the signal to that joint or that area that it's okay. I'm going to be soft. I'm going to be gentle with you. All right, so we're gonna go into the plank pose. I wanna do some stuff here with plank. So we're gonna stay here, as I just spoke a lot about the wrist, we're gonna stay here with the wrist. For those of you that have issues in your wrist and you need to come down onto the dolphin, you could come down onto your forearms and do what we're gonna do. Okay, so for those of you that have issues with your wrist, for the rest of you, let's work on more strengthening the wrists. Point your fingers are forward. You're going to lift one foot up, flip the toes under, and then lift the other foot up. Look down at your fingers and press your fingers into the floor so you see white tips in your fingernails so that you're distributing the weight. And then your feet are only not touching and they're not too wide, so hip distance. And then push your left foot into the floor like crazy and push the left heel back. See if you can lift the right leg off the floor. You're pushing all 10 fingertips into the floor. You're pushing that left toe into the floor, left foot, and then let's switch. So take the right foot, push the right foot into the floor, push the right heel back, and then push the right foot into the floor, lift the left foot up. Just see what you have, see what feels appropriate. And then go ahead and put both feet down. Let's see if you could take the right hand up. Reach the right hand away from you. Really push those left fingertips into the floor. And then put that down. Push the right hand into the floor, lift the left up. And then put that down. And then let's go ahead and come down. So maybe you did some of that, maybe you did all of that. Heart rate will be accelerating probably if you did it all. Lots of muscles used in that. All right, let's go on the floor and work on strengthening the back. We did the bridge pose earlier to help with the back. So we're going to come down onto the floor. Let's take our hands wide. So, and forward. Okay, wide and forward. Wide and forward, wide and forward. Keep going a little more forward. The pointer fingers are forward. And then I want you to push into the fingertips. Let the pelvis start to come forward. So don't keep your pelvis hanging up back here. Let your pelvis start to come forward. It's going to put some load into the hands. The hands are wide. And then the elbows are bending, right? You're not going out to the side with your elbows bending. You're not letting your tushy stay in the air. Your tushy comes forward. You push your hands into the floor and you slowly, slowly, slowly bend your elbows. Keep your elbows parallel to your mat. Try to go as slow as you can all the way down. And if you need to plop at some point, I guess that's okay. I used to plop when I first began this practice. Bring your pelvis onto your support, onto the blanket. So you have the pubic bones on the blanket. And then you're up here in a Sphinx pose. So your elbows are going to go underneath your shoulders and then lengthen your spine.
So the pubis bone, which is the base of the front of your spine, is pressed into the blanket. And then you have 26 vertebrae. So starting at your tailbone, can you pull your low ribs away from your pelvis, your sacrum, and then all 5 low back vertebrae. Try to create space in between each jelly donut of the low belly, towards the floor, and your upper ribs towards the floor. And then push your hand and lengthen your spine, and then bring yourself down onto the floor. Take your hands out to the sides. Your hands are out to the sides. We're going to fire up the muscles along the spine, the erector muscle group. Take your forehead to the back of your forehead to the back of the hands. The arms are out to the sides. As you inhale, pick up your feet one at a time and roll the leg in the socket with the straight knee, so the inner thigh rolls up towards the sky. Do the same thing with the other. Lift up the leg, roll the inner thigh up towards the sky. Feel the relaxation coming into the low back. And then you're going to press your arms into the floor. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift and up. Feel that the back are contracting to lift you up. Go slow so you can feel what's happening in your body. And on the next one, stay up. And then lower down. Let's take the hands out to the side. The palms are on the floor. Your arms are parallel to the mat. Working on strengthening your back. The muscles of the back and the muscles of the back of where the hands on the floor, nose is on the floor. The floor, especially the pinky toe. Inhale, the nose points down towards the ground, and then the nose can come forward a little. Back that's lifting up, not so much the head. And then press your arms into the floor. Feel contraction in your spine that's lifting your head up off the floor. Like, think about what is lifting my body away from the floor? What muscles are working? Hands into the floor, lifting, and then lower. One more. And then go ahead and come back down. Let's take the left hand, bend the left elbow, let the forehead rest on the left hand, and take the right hand up away from you. We're going to diagonally strengthen the back of the body. We're going to lift the right hand off the floor and lift the left leg off the floor, strengthening the left low back, the left tushy, the left back thigh. And then on the upper back, we're going to be strengthening the upper right. This is a diagonal pattern. This is how our body works. Our body works with diagonal patterning for structural alignment, for the kinetic chain. So on the inhale, lift your right hand off the floor, lift your left leg off the floor, and then exhale to lower. Inhale, right hand, left leg. Exhale, lower. Go slow and feel what's happening in your body. Inhale to lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale to lift, stay here. The right hand is lifting, and try to get the toe edge of the foot. Lift the right hand a little higher. Take one more breath. Lower down. Wiggle your pelvis back. Bend the right elbow. Let the head rest on the back of the right hand. Take the left hand out. Let your toes touch the floor. Press your pinky toenails into the floor to be in that internal rotation. Inhale, left hand, right leg. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. One more. Inhale to lift. Stay here. And on your next Inhale, lower.
Take your feet pretty wide, bend your knees.
Let your feet go side to side.
So we began today's practice letting our pelvis do a little bit of lifting or rotating. And so there's a little bit of that here, hopefully releasing any tension in the back of the body. And then bring the knees a little closer together. Let's see if you could reach around, take the right hand forward and reach around and grab a hold of the left foot. Now you may not be able to do that. If you're not able to do that, can you hold the left pants or shorts? But make sure that you don't actually crunch up the left side of your low back. So don't be so anxious to reach around that you crunch up anything. So for some of you, maybe just bending the leg will be enough. And then this is a pretty strong stretch on the quadricep muscles. Take one more breath and then release. And I know some knees don't like that. So let me actually offer a suggestion. You can actually also move on to your side and reach and grab a hold. So this actually may be better. So you could do whichever you like here. You can reach onto your side and grab a hold of the top of the leg and stretch that way, or you could stay on your back and reach and stretch this way. So depending on what range of motion you have in your joints, or actually, whether it's the knee joint or any other joint. So I'm going to throw this in there for those of you that can, and it may not be everyone. You can come into a bow pose where you hold on to the ankle, front foot of both feet. You slide the shoulder blades towards each other, and then you can lift your body off the floor a little bit if you'd like. So this is not for everyone. You push your feet into your hands and you lift your legs off the floor and you lift your upper body off the floor. Let's take one more breath. And then bring yourself all the way down. Let's take our pelvis side to side. And then bring your hands, the right hand up away from you, roll onto your right side. Bend your knees, push your hands into the floor to bring yourself up. So we're going to go down onto our backs to end our practice with a twist to each side, and then we'll be doing our relaxation. So let's come all the way down. If you have osteoporosis, reaching to the side, reaching your hand away, or rolling down through flexion. Bring yourself onto your back, bring your knees into your chest, and you're gonna rotate in one direction. So you allow the knees to go over to one direction. Try to keep the upper shoulder blades on the floor. So you may need to put a block between your knees or underneath your knees, depending on whatever you have going on in your body. So we just did a lot of back bending today. The bow pose that we just came out of, grabbing both legs, or the single bow. The extension work we did with the variations of cobra. The bridge pose that we did earlier, a lot of back bending, a lot of contraction of the back muscles. So the counter pose in some practices of yoga is the rotation, the twist. So let your arm be away from you, whichever side, the opposite of the one you've moved in. And if the knees are in one direction, allow the head to rotate in the opposite direction to deepen the twist in your spine. Breathe down to your belly, to a place of relaxation. And then take one more breath. To go to the other side, letting your knees move over in the other direction. Go slow, feel what's happening in your body. Make sure that it feels appropriate for you, whatever it is you find
whatever range of motion you find in your body, keeping those shoulder blades on the floor. Breathe down to your belly. As if you're wringing out any issues, anything that arose for you today during the practice. And that could be on taking one more breath. Yourself up to neutral. Let's end with the happy baby that we began with to help align our spine. Either holding on behind your hamstrings or reaching up to grab the feet, or 2 fingers between the big toe and the second toe. Wherever you are, whatever you need, find something in your body that feels good. And then preparing for Shavasana, bring your feet onto the floor. If you have a bolster that you're going to use under your knees, do that. Get yourself prepared for your Shavasana. And come all the way down. Bolster underneath your knees, blanket under your head. Whatever it is you're going to do to find relaxation in your body. And then bringing your awareness, the relaxation. Let go, let go. Keeping your awareness on your breath. Let everything settle that was stirred during the practice. Coming back to that place of noticing your breath, being an observer, body, to the lungs, to the movement, to the pace of the breath. Allow the integration of everything that was just done to settle in. Gently begin to deepen the breath. And start to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Roll your ankles and your wrists. And bring the knees into the chest, rocking side to side, noticing how your body feels. Roll onto your right side. Gently pushing yourself up to a seated position. Closing the practice with sound, because a mind-body practice, total integration of the mind and the body. This is the time to connect through sound, mind, body, and beyond. Take the hands, rubbing the hands together. The thumbs touch the sternum bone, sit nice and tall. We'll close with Om, blending the ah, the O, and the sounds together. Take a deep breath. Bowing to each other. Namaste. Oh boy, oh boy. Hopefully you feel yummy and you want to keep practicing more and more and more. Let me see. Okay. Well, hopefully I came back. Yeah, lots of freezing. All right. Well, hopefully I came back and hopefully you were able to practice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you whenever I see you again. Bye, everyone.